You want me to put that on my Tudor?
Harry's wife. The sad Harry habit. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Daniela Elsa, we've not heard from her for a while, writes in news.com.au, inside Prince Harry's sad new life of empty hotel rooms and late-night gaming. Before we get into the substance of the article, this is a place that many intimate partner primary sources of narcissists find themselves. There is the golden period, or sometimes the bronze period. That's when everything is decent, in some instances dizzying, mesmeric and scintillating, as the narcissist utilizes an array of benign manipulations to draw you in, commonly known as the love bombing. You're complimented, taken to interesting places, told how wonderful you are, possibly given plenty of delicious sex. You may well be introduced to the friends and family of the narcissist, held out as being a special and wonderful person that completes them. Your interests are mirrored, although you don't realize that. You think that you found someone who likes similar things to you. You want to spend plenty of time together. There's talk about moving in, marriage. Perhaps you even do move in quickly. Talk about having children together. It's a wonderful time, and it's all done by the intent of the narcissism to make you, as the victim, believe that you have found the one. But as night follows day, and as we're all going to die at some point, the inevitability of the narcissistic dynamic between narcissist and intimate partner primary source means that devaluation will arrive. It cannot be avoided. It cannot be removed. It cannot be prevented. It will always occur. And thus, as Harry has found himself in this sustained devaluation, punctuated with golden respite periods for the last few years, this is why he finds himself in this situation of empty hotel rooms and late-night gaming. It is interesting, this suggestion that he indulges in late-night gaming reminds me of several of my clients who I have spoken to who engaged in similar behaviours. The reason? The console doesn't shout at me. The video game doesn't make me feel like shit. The video game doesn't keep provoking me, belittling me, or hitting me. Those are the genuine responses provided by people who were victims of narcissists. They took solace in staying on a video game, perhaps locked away somewhere, because then at least they could engage with something which wasn't going to give them a hard time of it. And it's the same for Prince Harry. He is subjected to sustained devaluations, and as I mentioned in immediate parts past him, it's often the case that Harry's wife will utilise her lieutenant, her mother, Doria, to gang up on Harry for the purposes of controlling him. Many intimate partner primary sources find themselves looking to find some solace by removing themselves, albeit temporarily, from the narcissist, often done where they're being subjected to yet another silent treatment, and they think to themselves, well, there's no point me hanging around here, I may as well just go and stay somewhere else. In some instances, it can be a response of the victim where they're angry at the way they're being treated, and they decide, actually, I'm going to stay away from them. I'll weather the storm when I get back, but for now, I need some peace. I need some solace. They know that they're going to have to face the music, but they need a breather from it. And thus, that hapless victim places themselves away from the narcissist for a day or a night in order just to get some breathing space. But what does Daniela Elsa tell us about this? Nearly exactly 6 years ago, Prince Harry touched down in Sydney, and the city succumbed to a bad case of H-mania. The dashing HRH was in town to drum up some noise about the next Invictus Games, and such was his lure that crowds braved truly bucketing rain to see him. Things looked like they were only on the up for the royal. He had a fabulous girlfriend who promised to be the best thing to happen to the royal family since they stopped marrying their first cousins, and his charity work was going gangbusters. It's just a bit depressing when you contrast that Harry with the man of today, with a new report throwing up a bevy of claims that make him sound less like someone freed from a lifelong cage, and more like a teenager who could do with a shower, stern talking to, and a day job. Claims like he games until the wee hours, that he has not one but 2 hotel rooms he allegedly escapes, that there is a chasm between him and his wife, Harry's wife, the Duchess of Sussex, over fame versus privacy, and that his friends back in London want as much to do with him as Queen Camilla wants to sit through a slam poetry festival. Oh, and there's also the pesky question of whether the Sussex's cheapness might have played a part in last week's escape from Midtown paparazzi chase that the police don't seem to think was a chase. Ready to dive in? On paper, Harry now has everything he seemed to desperately want. He had escaped from indentured royal work, has a family of his own, and even a hummingbird feeder to keep him out of Harry's wife's hair. He can ride bikes, hike, barefoot along the beach with the wind in his remaining hair. Actually, nothing stronger than a mild breeze might be the best bet. But this paradisical vision does not quite tally with what the Telegraph's Camilla Tominey has reported, with her instead painting a picture of life inside the bee court of Sussex. Perhaps the most eyebrow-raising assertion is that the Duke, despite co-owning a 9-bedroom faux Tuscan estate with a guest house, has a couple of hotel hidey-holes away from home and where no one asks him to take the bins out. Tominey writes of the Sussexes, such is their independence from each other that the owner of a leading hotel chain in Monteshitsho recently told the Daily Telegraph they have a room set aside for Harry where he occasionally stays on his own. Not only that, but Harry has been known to stay 2 hours away at Los Angeles' premier A-list members club San Vicente Bungalows. A source at the Uber-exclusive joint told Tominey that seems to be his escape place. Tominey writes that Harry has apparently stayed there after attending Barry's Boot Camp, a high-octane cardio fitness class at the nearby Beverly Center. The image of Harry enjoying a bit of a run on Barry's treadmill, followed by a club sandwich for one in a hotel room, while CNN plays noiselessly in the background, is hardly the powerful, emotionally fulfilling image many had of what his brave new life would be post-Megxit. Interestingly, it wasn't only the Telegraph who've reported that Harry has these bolt-hole hotel rooms, but the Sun too. The representative for Harry quickly popped up to refute the claim, simply saying, "This is not true," but it's worth noting that both pieces remain unchanged. Interesting indeed. Other details offered up by Tominey go a long way to explaining, as she writes, why the 38-year-old appears to be struggling to find his way. For example, is the former army captain getting enough shut-eye? Harry is apparently staying up late into the night gaming. Then there is the matter of just how lonely H might be these days. We all know why his father, King Charles, and brother Prince William might have blocked him from the family chat, but it does not sound like his old mates are there to fill the gap and provide the sort of emotional succor and Schitt's Creek memes an adult man needs. Nobody really speaks to him anymore, and even the people who have remained by his side have lately begun to fall away because he is so consistently negative. An insider has told the Telegraph. He's often complaining and rarely asks after others. Now, they just see him as completely lost. Okay, but he's got his army mates, right? Not according to one former military colleague who told Tominey, no one in the forces has got any time for him at all, which is such a shame because he was hugely popular. You can blame Harry's wife, but he's brought a lot of it on himself. Friday last week marked 5 years since Harry and Harry's wife tied the knot and the royal family failed to not smirk and titter their way through Bishop Michael Curry's loquacious sermon. Today, the couple who, as Harry's wife once described as moving like salt and pepper, always move together, a sickly phrase if ever there was one, are frazzled, a friend has said, having 2 small kids. While the Sussexes are really happy together and live this idyllic life, the friend also told the Telegraph that they've been through a lot, and I think they've felt both quite ground down by it all. Which is entirely understandable. launching a crusade against a 1,000-year-old institution and antagonising one's entire family, all while having to find the cash to pay for a score of beefy bodyguards lacking necks, must really take a toll. Meanwhile, over at page 6, reporters raised the possibility that the Sussexes, like people with mortgages the world over, have been doing some economising. A source has said Harry and Harry's wife's people called the Carlisle ahead of the trip and asked for a discounted room, and the hotel said no. If they had just paid up and got a hotel in the first place, this supposed dangerous paparazzi chase around town would never have happened. They would have been driven back to the Carlisle, been photographed going inside, and that would have been the end of it. They should have just gotten a hotel for the safety of everyone. Instead, they were cheap and wanted a free place to stay. Just what state might the Sussexes' bank accounts be in? On one hand, Harry's tell-all memoir managed to not only teach a generation of blokes not to rub expensive face cream onto their little majors, but to sell millions of copies. Also, he and Harry's wife are the proud owners of deals with Netflix and Spotify, reportedly worth close to the $200 million mark. That's Australian dollars. Except there is a but here big enough to drive a Sussex-style convoy of SUVs through. A second season of Harry's wife's Archetypes podcast has yet to be confirmed, and nearly 6 months on from the couple's Netflix 6-part global event, the streaming giant has not announced any new projects with the couple. Harry has had a documentary about the Invictus Games cooking for years now. No release date has been revealed, nor has Penguin Random House popped up to trumpet a new book from either Harry or Harry's wife. The deals they might have be worth about the GDP of Wales, but the Times has previously reported that according to industry insiders, the couple was likely to be on a retainer of somewhere around $1.5 to $2 million, earning more per series that they make. While Harry's wife has signed with Uber talent agency WME, Harry did not, begging the question of where his career might go from here. What does, or will he do all day before it's PlayStation o'clock? Speaking in New York last week to collect her reward, just before the supposed paparazzi chase that derailed everything, Harry's wife said, "You can be the visionary of your own life." It's hard to imagine that Harry of 2018, so wonderfully in love and seemingly having found happiness, would ever envision a life cut off from his family, playing Halo late into the evening and completely lost in the eyes of his mates. Let's just hope things are not truly dire and it is on first-name basis, with his local Pizza Hut, and has started wearing links. The sad Harry habit of skulking away, finding solace in an empty hotel room where he's going to be left alone, or sitting and gaming late into the night. Not only is this demonstrative of the fact that he doesn't really have anything to do because he doesn't have a proper job, but it also, these comments signal what happens to the victim of a narcissist. Ostracised from friends who now no longer have time for him and see that he's brought much of this on himself, but it actually is all generated from the ostracization that his wife engaged in. He doesn't have a happy marriage. He wants that, but he doesn't, because he's with a narcissist. And there are two problems there. The first is the way that she behaves vis-a-vis the world will cause him to wince at times and shake his head. Because for all of his dim-wittedness and the cloud of his emotional thinking, he will still see instances where he looks at her behaviour and thinks, really? For instance, during the Shitflix docuseries, when she engaged in that ridiculous curtsy, it was writ large over his face that he was totally unimpressed with such dissing of his grandmother. He will see the way that she grasps for fame, and he's not as interested in that as she is. He will find it distasteful, but he knows better than to say something about it now, because each time that he has done so, of course, has been challenge fuel, prompting his wife to round on him. It's easier for him to say nothing. But even then, keeping his mouth shut, whilst advisable for him, he's still going to come up on her radar because he lives with her. And therefore, not only does he have to put up with the way that she behaves vis-a-vis the world at large, much of which, as I've said, he will find distasteful, he's also experiencing the sustained devaluation, where she continues, for want of a better description, to pick on him. He is lonely. He doesn't have any friends in the United States. His friends in Britain are starting to and have abandoned him as a consequence of the way that he has been distanced from them, not keeping in touch, and quite possibly the way that he has behaved towards those friends influenced by the manipulations of his wife. He's cut off from his family. He doesn't have any real hobbies other than playing on the PlayStation. He doesn't have a proper job. He was once ensconced within the royal family and well loved by many people. But he was led away from that, under false pretenses, of course he did not realise. And this is where he finds himself now. In a sustained devaluation, treated this way by a narcissist, and engaging in the sad Harry habit of seeking solace in hotel rooms and playing on the PlayStation. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.